GLP-1 community. Real people, real stories, and the fight for affordable access. By listening, you are supporting our advocacy efforts to make these life-changing medications accessible to everyone who needs them. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective. My name is Amanda Bonello, and I am so excited to share that the GLP-1 Collective is now a charitable nonprofit dedicated to advocating for affordable access to GLP-1 medications, normalizing their use through community-driven storytelling, and empowering individuals through support groups and educational tools. And today, we have a very special guest. She is my personal idol, Kim Carlos from the Plus Sides podcast. If you don't know who she is and you don't know what that podcast is about, then you need to check it out. She is one of the original advocates for GLP-1s and possibly the most successful to date. And I could not be more honored than to be sharing her story with the world today.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Collective.
You're like an actual OG, like one of the first. You have to be one of the
first. Yeah, I would say within the first 100. So I started taking the medicine in July of 2022. Because of the shortage, I started on Saxenda Victoza, which is liraglutide. So it's the daily one. And I didn't really know what I was doing. My nurse practitioner was like, every time you come, there's more weight. The numbers aren't great. And it could sneak up on us really fast. And it's not going to get any better. It's progressive. So I think we should do something. And she said it's an injection. I don't think I really understood what that meant. And she said, but there's a website that'll show you how to do everything. You just go to the website. And I'm like, okay. And so I go home. My husband actually was going to start it too. He did not have a good experience. He had lots of diarrhea. He talks about it like it's not a secret. I know. We both did okay on the low dose. It took a while. So because it's daily, it's just different the way all of it is dosed. And so I did that for a while and I was losing weight. I needed to go up slow. But the directions are to go up like every week. Again, like not much direction given to me by my provider. I started taking it and immediately started to notice I wasn't as interested in food. Normally, when I start any other diet, because I've been on every diet there is, I'm like, okay, I got to diet culture the shit out of this, right? I was like, I'm just going to eat a little less because I really know what I was doing. So then I was like, I probably should figure out what I'm doing because I am feeling this difference, figure out what the hell this is I'm taking. And of course, I'm a TikTok creator, but not a big one. Like I would do singing and duet little videos. And I joined in 2020. OG lore, my username was Dinosaur Monkey Farts. And that's what DMF stands for. During 2020, we were doing digital learning and I was going to lose my mind. And so my little boy, I was like, I'm always going to join TikTok. What should my username be? And he's like, Dinosaur Monkey Farts. And so that's what it was. But I didn't know that I was going to be like an activist by any means. 2 years go by. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I feel like I want to start getting a part of this. I saw Lori and Rachel and Michelle and Kelsey and another of like the OGs. And I was like, I should talk about this because this is a big deal. And then I went to get my medicine renewed and I couldn't. And insurance was like, basically, you haven't lost enough weight is what it seemed like. It was very confusing because we were doing through the whole prior authorizations. You know how that goes. And so I was like, okay, well, what should I do? Well, for whatever reason, my insurance would allow me to take Ozempic. So I switched to Ozempic. And so that was in September, October, something like that of 2022. So I was like, I think I'm going to share my story. And I went and got on a live. I'd never done a live before. I had had plenty of followers to do a live. And Rachel, who goes by Love Nest Conversation, joined the live with me. And we just talked about it, about like what we were experiencing and how bizarre it was and food noise and food. And she had been on Mounjaro. And most of the people that were creating, in my experience, were on Mounjaro because that was when the coupon allowed you to be able to get Mounjaro for $25, whether you had diabetes or not. And everything was in study for obesity, but we didn't know we were going to get the approval indication. But this savings card was very sneaky because technically there are regulations that will not allow a drug manufacturer to market something that it's not approved for. But technically, this is a type 2 diabetic medication that allows you to lose weight. So all this starts happening, and I'm kind of in the throes of it with everybody. And I don't know how to explain it. Like, I feel like anybody that's listening that's had food noise turns off understands that moment. That moment where you go, oh my God, it wasn't my fault. Like that moment. And then all you do is want everybody else to know, because it's earth shattering, you know, and life changing. And I just couldn't shut up about it then. I remember I was downstairs, and those days it gets real quiet. It's probably before a storm or the weather's about to change. And you'll just be in your house and you'll just hear like, "Whew, nothing. It's so still, you know? I felt that, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I have given myself a stroke. Here I am taking this diabetic medication, giving myself a stroke. What have I done now? Another diet thing, Kim. Here you go. And then I realized I could hear myself talk. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this is this conversation I'm having to myself, like freaking Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like, what if this was the thing all along? This was the thing, right? And then sorry, it's a lot to talk about it. Usually I have people on my show, and I just said, are we going to squander this? Or are we going to do everything we can? And I said, I'm going to do everything I can. And I think at the time I thought everything I can, like eat right and move more. And it ended up being a movement. And I, for sure, had transfer addiction from food to TikTok. And talking about this and connecting with this community, I made constant content. I mean, it's like I have tons of stuff since then, right? Like, I mean, I was making, I don't know, 5 videos a day. At some point, I started going live every single day for hours to help people. And why? And it's because more and more people were coming into our community, and I just saw them making content about like side effects, and nobody was helping them. And nobody was telling them how to manage the side effects. And we were all kind of still learning how to manage the side effects. I was like, well, we can't give medical advice. We need to make sure we understand the doctors. Well, during this time, the doctors were making content too. There weren't many. I want to say like 5 that were making consistent content to help us understand that obesity is a disease, that it's not our fault, that it has to do with the brain, that the underlying dysfunction is insulin resistance for most people, for 93% of people, and that type 2 diabetic medications, GLP-1s, work on insulin resistance, work on the dysfunction. So all these people saying things like, you're not working on the underlying thing. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, And I just sort of started learning that the hunger that I had, that noise, and the fat that I store is just a symptom of my disease. It's just a symptom of the disease of obesity and of insulin resistance. And once I started to accept that, I just needed other people to too. And the more content I would see on TikTok of people beating themselves up about, oh, I ate badly today and things like that. And I made bad choices. And I started to realize like this is more of a mental journey than it is anything. I decided that's kind of what I would have my content be about. Now, I was not hashtag Manjaro Journey to start because I'm on Manjaro now, but I wasn't then because my insurance paid for Ozempic and I was doing well on Ozempic. And I remember when I popped off on TikTok. So my background is in product marketing. I'm a go-to-market strategist. I work primarily for tech companies or like for the past 9 years, companies like in the cyberspace, usually startups. And so I just know a lot about messaging, positioning, strategies, and things like that. And I was recognizing a lot of things that were going on with this coupon card and how people were like losing access because that started happening. So in like October of 2022, we started having our first Manjaro shortage. And people got kind of pissy with each other. Like it was sort of like the obesity people versus like people with diabetes. Keep in mind, most of the people with diabetes also have obesity. And most people with obesity are pre-diabetic or heading that direction. like most of the time, not everybody. And so I just felt pulled to give people some answers. And so I have all these videos where I'm talking about my opinion of what I think is going on with the savings card, of what I think is going to happen next, like kind of predictions, and drawing these like correlations. And everywhere on my videos is his little stickers that says my opinion, my opinion, my opinion. I am a cyber marketing professional. Like, this is not my thing. And people loved it. And I recognized that the reason people liked it is because we just wanted some sort of answer, something that made sense, because it felt like to so many people that they were getting us hooked on drugs and then pulling it away and saying, come up with $1,000 a month now if you really want it, which was bullshit, because most of America can't afford $1,000 a month for a medication. I mean, it's a mortgage. When all that was going on, we were all trying to find a way to come together. And some of the creators started to get more and more following. And then at some point, about a year in, a lot of those creators hit goal and got into what we call maintenance. And nobody knew what maintenance was. This was uncharted territory. Doctors didn't even know what maintenance was. They started to be like, okay, well, this is what it's like for me. And I think I'm going to go down to the lowest dose and titrate down and see if I can do that. And we would ask the doctors, what is it? And they would say, I mean, we think maintenance is more of like a state of being, right? Like you get to whatever your goal weight is, and then you're whatever the lowest dose of whatever medicine that you're on to be able to have the effects of the medicine. So like the controlled food noise, your insulin resistance obviously being treated, and you being in control basically of like your appetite, the size of your body, etc. Right? Your inflammation, having your inflammation treated, all those things. But nobody really knew. And some people's dose was 2.5 and some people's dose was 15. And then TikTok Shop came along. And a lot of us were like, well, what are we going to do now? Because we weren't going to make shot day videos anymore. We weren't going to make weigh-in day videos anymore, because for the people that were in maintenance, I'm not in maintenance, but they were like, what do you want me to say? I'm the same weight I was last week. Hey, or I'm up a pound or I'm down a pound. Like, in the beginning, it was all about like being together and like accountability, because we were all diet culturing it. Some people still do, because that's all we know. And so I'm starting to see these kinds of things. And I'm like, we need guidance. We need help. We need to up-level this conversation, which you saw clearly immediately. And we need to start talking about obesity as a disease. And it needs to not be just doctors. We need to be talking about it from a movement perspective, because that's what this is. Now, during all of this time, many historical things happen. I'm making a series of content about this now. When the first shortage hit, and we were kind of at each other's throats, the media was villainizing us. I say, like, on the beginning of my things, this is a story about a bunch of creators that took a diabetic medication to lose weight. It went viral, caused a national shortage. At least that's what you think happened. And that kind of, in a way, it kind of is, But at the same time, it's not. Because for all of those reasons I'm explaining, the fact that we were taking something for our disease, obesity just isn't really recognized as a disease in society. It really isn't. People think it's a moral failing. They really do. Sorry, I got upset earlier. I get weepy about this stuff. I just thought, okay, what if we could take these stories of these people who are having their lives changed by these medications, and then take the doctors and kind of stitch them together in long form content where a lot of this belongs, like a podcast, right? I met a girl, and then also my friend Kat. She was sort of stealth taking Manjaro, and she saw me talking about it and was like, "You're on it too?" I was like, "Yeah." And so Kat and I started a podcast, and then this other girl named Jernine, who we had met through the community, who had obesity and diabetes, and we started it together. We didn't know Jernine, but she lived in Atlanta and seemed like a nice person. She is a nice person. And so we just kind of started it from there. We didn't have any idea what we were doing. But then during all of this, we noticed that Rosie was talking about Manjaro. And she was talking about the food noise turning off. And she didn't follow me or anything like that. I started following her, and I went to the community because it wasn't that big then. And I was like, guys, we need to find a way to get Rosie on the podcast. I have this shenanigans plan. Some of you, she follows you, help me out. And I was like, I'm going to make a video, and then I need you guys just to tag the shit out of her. And so what I did was Rosie made this video about going to this wedding. She was looking lovely. In her video, she said, you got to show up, people. That was her whole thing, is you got to show up. It's not always easy, but you got to do it. And so I stitched it. And I said, hey, Rosie, like, I don't know if you know, but a lot of people in our community, so this is like summer of 2023, are about to lose access to medication because the coupon card's going away. And we are trying to get louder than the media, louder than everything else, and be able to help more people. I would love if you would come on the podcast and tell your story. It would just be great. And it would help, right? Because the buzz, because she's Rosie. Or I said, but if you can't come on the podcast, if you would just duet this video so that people that follow you, that are on this medicine, know about it, then they have a safe place to go. And I was like, it would just mean the world to us. And then I said, we need you to show up. She duetted the video and she came on the podcast. So we did her interview the next day. I text with Rosie. She's everything. Just kidding. She's the best. She came on the podcast and we had to hustle. And our friend Kat, she was in France. We were trying to get word to her. And I called Janine, like, I got Rosie. And she's like, what? And I was like, yes. We got to do this tomorrow. That's when she wants to. Like, we were able to get Dr. Rosen really quickly because Dr. Rosen had just been on Rosie's podcast called Onward, talking about Mounjaro. And so I was like, let's just get together really quick. And he kind of came in at the end and he was seeing patients and stuff. So it was hard. We got together and she said all the things on the episode. She said it should be for diabetics and people with obesity, that she's, 60 years old, and talked about her whole weight story of everything that she's dealt with. I guess out of the kindness of her heart, didn't charge me a dime. And then she said that if they would keep the savings card, that she would be their spokesperson for free. That all they needed to do for her was keep the savings card so people could keep getting their medicine. And it was the first time anybody was saying anything like that. Nobody was. I could not get the media to pick it up. I could not. Nobody cared. I no matter what I did. And maybe I was just doing something wrong. So then someone told me, listen, I think if you're sending stuff to the media with all these clips of Rosie, the fact that your username is Dinosaur Monkey Farts might be a problem. And I couldn't bear to change it. My son made it up. And so I just changed it to DMF. And that's why it's a DMF everywhere, But the podcast really blew up then, right? It really started growing and expanding on YouTube and on the audio platforms. We're global. We're like number 9 in Ireland. It's like a big deal. So it's not like I'm Joe Rogan with this huge audience. It's niche. It's people on GLP-1 and trying to find us, whether they're on their journey at the beginning or the end. But there was so much misinformation. Like, I knew we had to do something and we didn't know. We thought, well, maybe we'll get to the point where we have a fund and we can help people pay for their medicine and all these different things. And that didn't happen. I had to fund the podcast with TikTok Shop. So I started doing TikTok Shop by outside a full-time job plus the podcast. And I think, making content is a full-time job. I was trying to do way too much and I'm losing weight. And then in the middle of this, my sister got real sick. My dad was already sick with cancer. He had this chronic leukemia. So he's on chemo every day the rest of his life. And then my sister, who, if you look at her, this is when I started kind of to change about how I thought about things. She looks like the picture of health. She's petite, thin, beautiful, does yoga. She's a creative director and writer, copywriter. She lives in New York, travels all over the world. All the things that you, I think, as someone in an obese body, think, oh, like that's what it's supposed to be like. You're supposed to be like that, healthy. And she wasn't. She had a rare issue. It's autoimmune. Her body was attacking her bile duct in her liver, which made her incredibly jaundiced. And we think she had been jaundiced for a really, really long time. And then it turned out there was some cancer specifically in the bile duct. So she was going to need a liver transplant, but first she's going to have to go through chemo and radiation. So my family was definitely in the middle of all this trying to join together and help each other. And her specialist for her rare condition was in New York. So I was just trying to balance everything as best I could. So I had a lot of stalls on my journey, but still trying to do the podcast every week. It was a lot. I'm just glad I did it. I'm glad I kept going, but that's what we were doing. I hit a pretty good stall. A lot of that's because of stress and cortisol levels and all the things. And then I got on Wegovy because I needed to go up higher in dose. It's still, nothing was moving anymore. And I definitely needed to lose more weight. I had lost maybe like 70 pounds or so, more weight than I've ever lost, ever. I got on Mounjaro. They added it to my formulary. So this is fall of 2023. So at this point, I'm like, well, I'm not going to not take advantage of that, right? And there is no Zepbound yet, guys. Zepbound does not exist. Like, Zepbound is still, we don't know what the name's going to be. Like, tirzepatide's still in studies, long studies for obesity. Like, we have no idea when it was going to get approved. So I switched to it and I lost a good bit more weight. I noticed immediately my inflammation just in my face, because I really have a very full face, but just immediately it was like, one day I was like this, the next day I was like this. And we've learned from the doctors on the podcast, obesity is a chronic inflammatory condition. It affects every organ in your body. I just want people to take it more serious, to understand science has proven this isn't a moral failing, So when all this is happening, we're definitely all having these like realizations. Then kind of the rise of telehealth is happening. Like, we already had some telehealth in the beginning, but then more and more start coming. I thought, I think we need more options. Plus, with compound, like we want safe options. And I also was really calling on these doctors to talk about compound. So the shortage is there and compound is happening, but everybody's scared to take it. Lots of people have been taking semaglutide, but I think a lot of people were getting it through peptides or through like day spas, wellness spas, and nobody knew where they were getting it from. And none of the doctors would say what was happening, like where they were getting it from and what equaled good. And I was pissed about it because I was like, this is a crisis. This is not a bunch of people that are trying to lose weight with the hottest weight loss drug. This is a crisis. And if you are an obesity specialist, you have a responsibility, in my opinion, to come forward and tell us what equals safer. You need to tell us. And we had Weight Watchers, doctors out there saying, no, like don't take compound and stuff like that, which I found wildly irresponsible because people don't have their medicine. It's not okay. You need to tell us if you don't want us to take compound, why, what to stay away from. Like that's a very privileged position, right? To sit in a place and go, no, don't take compound. That's not okay. I need to know why. So I put out a call to a couple of the doctors. So who came forward was Dr. Myra from Mochi Help and Dr. Rosen, both obesity doctors. Dr. Rosen is actually not only a specialist with obesity, but he is a bariatric surgeon. So they came on the podcast and we had a roundtable about it. And they also brought on a compound pharmacist that worked with Mochi. And we talked about 503A pharmacies and 50B3 pharmacies and how they work and what compound actually is. What do we need to stay away from? What is probably okay? All of these different things as a guide. People desperately needed that. I'm telling you, there was nothing. Nobody was saying anything about any of it. And people needed medicine because they were reneging on their cards with us. You know how expensive it is. And I just was really moved by it. And I felt a responsibility to bring people together and use the podcast for that. And that's what we did. And I feel like that helped a lot. And it continued to move things forward. Then it became more commonplace. And people knew the difference between a 503A and 503B, peptide companies, buying medicine online. There were Groupons. There still are people out there with Groupons trying to get people to come on to peptide companies, people mixing compound in their kitchen, people taking research grade peptides that specifically say not for human consumption. And they didn't know. They're like, oh, but that's just because it's for research. No, because it says that and because you took it, what people need to understand is you have now released them of any liability because they will say, we told you not to take it. It says it on the bottle. And people need to be aware of that. Now, I want to be very clear about this. I have reached a level of health I am not willing to give up. I am no better than any of these people that considered any of these things. And even though I know all the things that I know, I cannot tell you with a straight face that if I lost access to this medicine and that if that food noise came back, which is torture, that I wouldn't consider those things. I can't tell you that. But what I knew is that everybody needed clarity and education so they could make their own decision. So that was a really big switch, like a shift in, I would say, kind of the culture. And more creators were coming to TikTok, right? And more people were starting to share their story about this because the access was getting better. Now, the access was not getting better necessarily because the medicine wasn't available. The access was getting better because people were getting more clarity around where they could get the compound from, where it was safer. Right? Like ultimately, you can only say it's so safe. I mean, and a lot of people would argue that's the same thing with brand, but regardless, like you have to be aware of those things. So when this is happening, we are for sure in the media still villainizing the people on TikTok, on this, on that, for taking the diabetic medication from the diabetics who actually needed to live, which is not true, to lose weight because they are fat and lazy. Ultimately, if you look back at any of the media coverage, which I'm sure they've gotten rid of, that's what it was. That's what they were saying. And it's just not true. It's not true. Now, that being said, the doctors on the show have told us that in terms of obesity, that 93% of people with obesity have insulin resistance. And that's why, they take this medicine and they see a difference. But still, the narrative in society was you guys just need to eat less and move more. But we knew scientifically that we've actually proved those are good ways to possibly prevent obesity, but they're not treatments for obesity. They're just not. But it just kept up on and on. So January rolls around and Weight Watchers, the king of diet culture, buys Sequence, which is a telehealth that specifically in our community treats people with obesity. Many people, including myself, were triggered by this. People at Sequence, not at Sequence. And I was very outspoken about it. Now, but I very much was like, what the are you doing here? Seriously, like, what are you doing here? Because this is a diet culture retirement plan. And I was very, very vocal about it. A lot of that is because when I was 8, that was my first diet, Weight Watchers. At 8. Like, I remember standing over a rice cake in the kitchen, drizzling chocolate sauce on it, trying to get something that would taste good to my brain so that I could sleep and stay within my points at 8. Why was I on a diet at 8? Because my mom had just had a baby and she was trying to lose weight. And so she thought that she was teaching me how to eat, the right way to eat, how to eat, because I was 8 and I was big, bigger than everybody else. I honestly remember from pre-K people commenting on my weight. Pre-K. My parents don't remember that, but I do. Every year for the rest of my life, I was always trying to control the size of my body until I would give up and let it all gain all my weight back and then diet again. This is just perpetual the rest of my life. I'm 45 years old. It kills me. Not one time did anybody ever say to me, do you know that you have obesity? Did you know that obesity is a chronic disease? Did you know that it's not your fault? Now, that being said, they really didn't know till about, I would say, 10 years ago for sure. And I think maybe obesity doctors were saying that, maybe like surgeons were saying that. Actually, when I was in college, I started taking a medicine for mental health. And honestly, it's because I was assaulted in college. And I struggled with my mental health. So I went to the doctor, and the medicine they put me on made me gain 100 pounds like that. And I'm already big. I already have obesity, right? Well, that gave me a new set weight, which we know more about. And I couldn't get it off. I could not get it off. I had gotten married and I wanted to have a kid and I just needed help. And so I had seen on Oprah, there was this girl who was young and she had gotten lap band surgery and it could be removed. You could do it, lose weight, and then you could take it out. And it wasn't getting your stomach stapled. It wasn't gastric surgery, and insurance had just started covering this. It wasn't considered experimental anymore. And I did that. And I think I lost between 60 and 70 pounds. I got pregnant almost immediately after I lost that weight and miscarried. I kept it off though for a long time. I think I gained maybe 10 pounds after my first miscarriage. And my second miscarriage gained back another 10 after that. Nobody ever said to me, hey, your periods are whack. Maybe you have, insulin resistance, PCOS. Nobody did. They just blew me off. Every doctor, all they ever did was tell me that I needed to lose weight. And I get like a lot of times, people don't know. A lot of the doctors, they really didn't even know. And what we've learned from the podcast is they weren't taught squat. They had like one course or one session about it. And all of it was obesity is bad. Tell these people to eat right and move, or they're going to get obesity and they're going to get a heart attack. They're going to get diabetes. And you just need to keep them from getting there. You need to make sure they lose weight. If they lose weight, everything gets better, right? Because that's what they knew. And one of the reasons that I do the podcast too is I want more women to be aware that PCOS is insulin resistance. And I want more women to be aware that these medications treat insulin resistance so that they know if they're going to plan their family. Because Victoza came out in 2012 and I was lucky enough, I'm telling you, I had my miracle baby and I've never been able to get pregnant since. But if I had known about Victoza, if I had known that obesity was a disease, if I had known about GLP-1s, I would have taken that shit in 2012 and I would have more kids, because I didn't ever think I was going to love being a mother as much as I do, but I do. It's my favorite thing. And I only have one. Now he's my miracle baby and he's 12 now and he's the best, but I just want more people to know about it. And I know they get blown off, especially women, especially with anything hormonal. I know we get blown off. So I want more people to be aware of it. So I have a lot of shows on the podcast about it. It's hard. I think everything worked out probably like it's supposed to, because I doubt if I had more children that I'd have been able to do the podcast or be a part of a movement on TikTok or anything else. So I think it all probably worked out for the best, but I've been fairly devastated about it for quite a while and been kind of healing through that. With people on TikTok, we started to do these lives to help people because they were like, I'm vomiting, or the doctor started them on 2.4 of Wegovy. And you're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to titrate out because doctors, they're like, oh, it's a shortage. It's fine. I'll start you on the highest dose. You're going to end up there anywhere. No, there weren't enough out there. So this huge gap in knowledge from physicians versus the on the streets knowledge that we were learning as creators, we needed to fill that gap because for two reasons. One, a lot of people, once they got on GLP-1s, they think it's the last thing. They're like, hey, this is it for me. I've tried everything. I have to make this work because if it doesn't work, then whatever. And so they don't talk to their doctors. when they're nauseous. They don't call the doctor and go, I'm vomiting, I'm nauseous, or whatever it is. They don't, because why? They think their doctor's going to take them off the medicine. And you know what? If their doctor doesn't know anything about it, which most don't, then that's probably what would happen. So they come to us. So what happened is we all started doing these lives on TikTok. And eventually people would come to them and then they became creators. And then it was just sort of like, if you go to every live, it's like, I mean, they all have their own special twist, right? But it's like a blueprint of what we need to say to where we don't give medical advice, but we're helping people. And people started kind of repping for telehealth, like, hey, this is the one that I use. Here's my coupon code if you want to sign up. And that blew up on TikTok in 2023 and definitely even more so in 2024. And we saw more and more telehealth entering the space, which I actually think is great. People have more options, and it also drives down prices for compound because people drop their prices and they want to compete. And I want that. That's what I want. I want people to get quality care that they can afford. And you can go live on TikTok too, I think, but I stay away from that because they have like such strict requirements about weight loss talk. And I talk about binge.
Really?
And yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't even tell you about the story and all the censorship that we've been through. It's like July 4th. They were pissed that we were talking about medicine. They did not like it. Why? Because what was the narrative? We were contributing to the shortage, right? That was the narrative. We were making it popular. We were contributing to the shortage. We were pushing compound. Like that's the narrative, right? Now, of course, TikTok will never admit to any of this shit. But they all of a sudden, out of nowhere, banned like 100 creators. Like, oh, overnight. Woke up July 4th. Everybody had multiple violations. And here's the thing. I don't just mean creators like GLP-1, the doctors too. Iveen, Mochi, Dr. Albert, Accomplished Health Dr. Albert. If you don't know, follow. There was a bunch.
Wow.
Banned them, completely banned, permanent ban, could not appeal, could not get in touch with TikTok. We couldn't get the media to pick it up. Dr. Albert kind of had someone from, I think, like something kind of get it picked up eventually. Fought, got the accounts back. Almost everybody fought and got the accounts back, but a lot of people didn't. Still, there were still people that didn't. I wasn't affected at all. Then we noticed that we had to start saying things different. And if we didn't, then we would get caught up on this new violation called promoting disordered eating.
Oh my gosh.
Because we were talking about GLP-1s. Yeah, it's a thing. Like you can report people for it. And it was like a mass, I don't know if it was just an overcorrection or what the deal was, but it banned all those people. So a lot of them got our accounts back. I really think it's because we got people that would talk about it in the media and TikTok didn't like it. And most of the accounts got back. But all you could do was just email and beg TikTok every day to give us our accounts back. That's it. So it was very hard, right? I mean, there's one creator named Ange. She wasn't even a GLP or creator originally. She was something else. And she had like 1 million something followers and just gone. Couldn't get it back. She's a nurse.
Gosh.
She's a nurse. And
all the content.
All of it gone. And sometimes you could download it and other people couldn't. It was awful. And we couldn't figure out, what are you talking about? We're talking about treating our disease with FDA approved medications. What the fuck? Sorry, but seriously. Then it's funny because the girl Rachel, her name's Love Nest Conversation. She's very profound. She makes very good content. She meant a lot to me in my journey. And she made this like Discord and they called it the banana boat. And because we couldn't say ban. If you say ban on TikTok, it flags things. It's like the AI or whatever. So we called it ban. We got bananaed. And then we started calling this thing the banana boat. And so she was like, we're all kind of up there talking and getting lawyers involved and anything that we could to try to get our accounts back. Because what happens when you hit somebody with obesity? Like we fall down, we cry, right? And we get the back up, right? All the time, every time. If anybody's going to change anything, it's going to be us, period. Anything. Because we have been working our whole lives to make things better in our own body, failing and then getting back up over. And like the resilience and the grit of people with obesity, in my opinion, we're the ones that can actually change things. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. So it's important that we continue to get back up. And that's what they did. Every one of these creators, they made new accounts, they came back. Or they went back to their accounts and started doing things. If we couldn't say things this way, we turned it around and said it this way. We started having code words. We didn't say weight loss. We wouldn't say scale. We would say WL. And we would say the thing on the floor. Like we did whatever we could to continue the movement and to keep everything going. And every creator that did that is part of the movement and is fantastic because it's very brave and very strong. And it's why it's still here. And it's why we're on other platforms and stuff. So that happened. So then time goes on, but we're finding at this point, we really got to watch what we're doing. So I make it through and I had a couple of things go viral. I've grown considerably. I decided to make up a backup account just in case. And I think a lot of it was because I was a shop person and they didn't want people on shop talking about weight loss. And we got to where they said we couldn't talk about weight loss anymore, that we couldn't talk about it, that it was disordered eating and that it would not make the For You page. That was like the new thing. So this was in, I want to say May of 2024.
You were literally suppressed.
Oh yeah. We started getting put in like jail when this happened. We would make content and then it would just sit there and not post. And it would say it's being reviewed and then it would go nowhere. So this happened when that change happened, which was last year. And I have been suppressed ever since. I started doing stuff with a backup account. I've had a couple of things go semi-viral for the most part now. The suppression was really bad. A lot of people were heavily affected by it, but a lot of people were able to break through. It's just so bizarre of who can and who can't. Like I said, the first time I had no problem at all. Second time I've been suppressed on the big account ever since. And I do think it's because I'm a big shop creator, and they didn't want me talking about it. But then I see people who are bigger shop creators than me that are talking about it all the time and flying and all the stuff. So that's just what it's been like. It's been constant issues. And I mean, I've been having a TikTok shop rep and I met with them and I was like, I am one of those creators. I've been on GMA. Like when I'm on there, I'm talking about my podcast and this movement. Like this isn't Kim that was really big and is now really small or anything like that. I'm talking about the disease. I held that. And I was like, and you guys are suppressing the shit out of me. As a matter of fact, anytime that I make a video about this, I find that my shop videos suffer. So what's going on? And he was like, nah, that's not a thing. I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is. We all know it is because we all see it. So, I mean, obviously we don't think there's a monkey back there like saying, no, your stuff's not going to go anywhere, but something's up within the algorithm where it's causing a problem. So that's what it's been like with TikTok. People act like, oh, TikTok's been all great. TikTok has been great. It's been amazing. However, TikTok censors the shit out of us. It really does. It does not want us talking about this conspiracy theory. And I talk about this on YouTube all the time. I do think there's something to do with pharma. I think pharma puts pressure on and they don't want us talking about compound. They do not want that. So Oprah comes out and says, let's have this state of weight special. And she had been looking really good. The color purple had come out and she had been looking fire. And she's much older. She's in her 60s. And everybody was like, oh, she's on one of them semaglutide. So then she comes out and she has this state of weight special. And nowhere in that does she ever mention anything. If anything, it did seem like she was trying to learn on the show. I did not feel like she was faking it and asking all of these doctors questions. It's so funny because people were like, Kim, Oprah stole your format. She's interviewing doctors. I go, stop it. I've been watching Oprah since I could remember. I stole Oprah's format. You know what I mean? I love her. Anybody that knows anything about me as a creator knows that Oprah is a core memory for me. She cannot do any wrong. Like for me, like it's a little dangerous, but she can't because I saw a woman and a Black woman as well, but a woman in a big body be successful, question the status quo, help people, guide people. It is an impact on literally a piece of who I am. So when she came, and I hated that she was associated with Weight Watchers, but when she came out and was like, let's have this discussion on the State of Weight episode, that was like, oh my God, is Oprah getting in this? Oh my God. Like, it was just like, I love her. There's no way around it. And then my friend Lee was on that episode that I met on TikTok, and it was just so cool to see him on there and telling his story, and Oprah going, we didn't get the memo. Why didn't anybody tell us of these views? We didn't get, it was 10 years ago. Why didn't you tell us? Because nobody cares about fat people, period. Like that's what our society is. And it may be yucky. And I know I'm saying it kind of crudely, but that's true. And maybe not about them as humans, but about them being fat, people think it's their fault. That's what they think. And I don't know how to unspin that other than to continue to do what we're doing as creators on whatever app we can, with podcasts like mine, like yours, and like Dave's, wherever, everywhere we can, is just continue to push back against that because it's not true. Nobody bothers to look at the science because they've decided. And that's because of what it says about them. And this whole idea of then privilege, it's a thing. It really is. And that's something we need to consider. When people come at you and say the things they say, it is about their insecurities and whatever is happening says about them. It's not about you. And as a very highly sensitive person, I've been learning that, and I still struggle. And I've had plenty of clapbacks at people where I was flipping my junk. And for sure, this did take a toll on me. I will say, like, doing all these lives, several hours every day, whether it was in the morning when I was getting ready or in the evening before bed, it took a toll on me. All those haters and all those people saying those things to us. But then I started getting bigger, and in terms of being a creator, and that got worse and worse. The more you go viral, the times you go and stuff, the more I come out of the woodwork. Then I just started getting mad. So eventually I had to quit doing lives because I just couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't. And my lives were huge, 200, 500 people every time, and it just got to be too much for me. So I was like, okay, where can I help where I can keep my mental health good? And that was the answer, was the podcast. And when Oprah first came out, where everybody was kind of speculating, we started doing lives where I invited on different people, different perspectives to react to like the Oprah episode. So after that first State of Weight episode came out, not too much longer after that, the People article came out where she said that she had not been on a GLP-1, but that she had lost a lot of weight recently and that she was now maintaining with a GLP-1. So she wouldn't say which one, she still won't say which one, which is a good idea because can you imagine? Everybody be like, I want the one Oprah's on. That's what happened. It's like Oprah's favorite things. So she came out in that People magazine article about it. And some people were like complete turds about it. And were like, so what? So what? And here's what. After she came out about it, she decided to have another episode. And in that episode, she really wanted to break things down. And in order to have the special, so she didn't feel like there was a conflict of interest, that's what she said, she donated all of her shares for Weight Watchers and gave them away. Now, she was like the Weight Watchers queen, right? And she was very excited about it, but she did regain. And she's been on the diet roller coaster like her whole life. So considering how poorly people have treated Oprah, the fact that she's coming out and talking about this as a disease is awesome. It felt like all these things are moving forward. And that was huge for us. And it was like great because one, I'm okay now, but I really was anti Weight Watchers. So knowing that my like kind of idol was no longer associated with it made me feel really good, and I was very excited about that. I was like, yes. But then she had another episode with them where they were on YouTube, but she just kind of gave them a moment. It wasn't like the Weight Watchers show. Thank God. I should have just trusted her. She can handle it. But I hated it. I was like, why are they still here? Why are they still here? But I feel like the one thing I saw with Weight Watchers when they entered like our, I don't know, domain or space or whatever, is the narrative in the media changed like that. It went from villainizing us to, wait a minute, Weight Watchers is doing this? Maybe there's something to this disease, this chronic disease management, maybe. And honestly, they were the only ones that had a PR engine that was big enough to do that. And that, I think, eventually led to the stuff with Oprah. So now looking back, I mean, probably nobody cared about, but it was for me where I told Weight Watchers I forgive them. And I think that a lot of people are trying to get to that place. And I think that if it moves things forward, then that's what matters the most. If it keeps this movement moving to where we can get affordable access for everyone that's sick, then that would be great. I chant this a lot. And, when you're a creator, you get kind of like little lines. And mine is sick people need medicine, period. And if we don't start looking at obesity like the disease that it is and insulin resistance and the issue that it is, then nobody's ever going to get there. And that's just the truth of it. And I think about, it's very hard to see all these people suffer, and you're going to see this. People losing access. And I've had people say to me before, I'd rather die than go back to how I was. And that is because sick people need medicine. That's what that is. And I just think that it's important that we look at this medically. You know what I mean? Because every time we say the new weight loss medications, we're just diminishing what this is actually doing. It trivializes it. And I understand with the ignorance, and ignorance to me just means not informed. And I'm okay with ignorance. I'm okay with willful ignorance, but I'm okay with ignorance. But when we talk about this and we call them weight loss meds and things like that, it's never going to change. And we have a new administration to educate. We have new people that are maybe not the most sensitive around this area. And we need to talk about this because what I have learned on this journey is it has nothing to do with weight loss. But because people have always told us that that's the problem, that's what we focus on. But it doesn't. It doesn't have to do with the pounds. Doesn't. It's like what Kat talks about, the weight between the ears. It is a diseased body, That's what this is. And you are getting a treatment for your disease. It is not a cure. And that's why we need to make sure we get access. I hope one day there is a cure or that we have better treatments But ultimately, what the data shows is that most people regain their weight because of insulin resistance. They've actually learned that fat has a memory. The science of this is just not something anybody cares to talk about, which is why Dave talks about it so much, which is why I talk about it with the doctors on the show so much. You can argue with it to an extent, but you also can't, because all the experts agree. And it's just really important. And I think that there's a certain level of forgiveness that comes with this entire journey. Forgiving yourself, forgiving doctors that didn't know but are trying to make it right, forgiving diet culture that didn't know but maybe you're trying to make it right. That's a big one for me. And there's so much self-talk. I think that when you live in a diseased body, an obese body, when you can't control the size of your body, so much of that is so incredibly damaging, the trauma of that. And I do think from a TikTok perspective and community perspective, it's very much like trauma bonding. There really aren't people in our lives that will understand the trauma that we have experienced living in big bodies, living with food noise, living with the constant horrible self-talk that we did to ourselves. And having us all together helps us heal. And it is a mental and physical journey. And I think that it's easy to lose sight of that at first. So that's my story. I know it was all over the place. Hopefully you can weave it together a little better. But
That was so incredible. Oh my God, you're such a good storyteller. Wow.
This is all historical. The Weight Watchers stuff, the Oprah stuff, this is historical stuff. And I've been blessed enough to be a part of this.
Not just a part of it, but driving this movement. You're incredible. And everyone is so lucky that you started this and that you took it as far as you did. I mean, you were the person that I found on Instagram when I had just started my journey, and I'm like, I'm going to fight for affordable access. I don't know what I'm doing. I see this clip of you yelling in your fantastic green sweater, driving your car like, nobody wants to take compound.
Yes, that's right. We only do it because we have to. Yes, yes.
It's like, wow, who is this amazing, passionate person who's also really entertaining?
Thank you.
And yeah, I was looking for everyone that I could that had GLP-1 advocate in their tag. And you saw I was stitching videos with these people. I had no experience with social media. I had no idea what I was doing. And I didn't know, really know any of these people, and they didn't know me. So there was not really any interaction that I got back at all until I felt like you really heard me. I felt like you were the one person who actually responded. And you were like, listen here, FDA, you're going to ruin a lot of people's lives if you don't do better. And I was like, she's amazing. She is amazing. I'm so grateful for you.
I'm so glad we met. I think that, sometimes you can just see sincerity in people, and I just saw it in you. I saw what it was for me before all of this. Oh, I saw you on Dave's show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope that I reached some people. I'm really trying to provide everyone to have access to the support that they need, support groups and the forum for people who want to connect after the support group. I mean, I want to freaking march in Washington at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd like to really grow.
We went. John and I went.
I know.
Yeah. And I can't imagine it's the last time. So when we go next, you and me and Dave and whoever else, we should go together.
Yes.
I
just had 2 questions. One of them I was really, really curious about.
Sure.
This is a general question. It's not necessarily about your career or how many amazing things you've accomplished, but I'm just curious about your opinion. So I've been hearing and seeing a lot of comments from people who are plus sized, who are offended by GLP-1s and people on the GLP-1 journey. And unfortunately, mostly by the idea that obesity is a disease.
Yes.
I just saw the other day someone said, oh, you're just, saying there's something wrong with the size of people's bodies.
Yes.
Not to me, but in another comment. And the sad thing is that I know how they feel. So many of us do know how they feel. We all know how they feel. And how it's such a sensitive topic, and you're so downtrodden your entire life and beat up because of the size of your body. And here come these people who are, they're getting skinny, and now they're judging me too. And I just wanted to know what you would say to those people.
Yeah. So what I say about that, and this is as candid as I can be. So what you're talking about a lot is body positivity, which in my experience as a 45-year-old woman who's been in a large body my entire life is something that we all created to survive. And it's not, look, society wants us to be small, and this world is not, it really is not built for big people. Cars are not built for big people. Planes are not built for big people. Clothes are not built for big people. We all have to do these one-off niche things, which continue to make us feel very othered, you know? And I think that a lot of this centers around people thinking that you're trying to control the body because you want to fit into society, when truly what you want to do is be healthy, and what you want to do is not be othered, and what you want to do is be able to fit in, and what you want to do is not hurt. I don't think people understand how much pain people that have obesity live in mentally and physically. It hurts. That being said, when I was young, it didn't hurt, right? Not the physical part. When I was young, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't have pain. Like, I was inflamed, but I didn't have like a lot of joint pain or anything. I was young. So body positivity is a way, in my opinion, that we're all just trying to survive, right? And this goes back to continuing to think about these medications like weight loss medications. They are not. I think that anybody that understands this is a disease, that understands there is no cure, there are only treatments. If we were talking about any other disease, they would be like, of course you deserve your medicine. Of course you get your medication, right? And I think that a lot of times people, and I want to keep in mind, I still live in a big body. I'm a size 14. I'm not a small person. Like, at the end of this journey, like the current medicine, the current journey, I still live in a big body. I feel thankful that I still live in a big body because I identify as a big, beautiful woman. And that has not changed for me. If I was a size 12, if I was a size 10, if I was a size 6, if I was any of those things, it would completely fuck with my identity and how I perceive myself. And I was very nervous about it. And when I did get to 110 pounds lost, I felt so much better knowing that my maintenance was still in a big body. And I wrestled with that a lot, but I can still in my mind be like, well, I can wear the smallest size, the plus size store, or the biggest size in the regular store, right? And not always, but, ish. And I'm in this like place of, okay, but there are many people where it went the other way, I think that we also forget, because we are, to be able to get this medication, compound or not, to be able to afford it compound, or to be able to get it through insurance, it is a privilege. It is a privilege. It seems like everybody is on these medications. It's not. It's like, I think that the projection for like 2028 or something is like 9 people. My numbers are likely off, so make sure you check those. It's not like 9 people, 9% of 40% of America. Now, and think about the people that are not in the obese category yet, right? So, or that are just overweight. That's 70% of America. Everybody is not on these. Everybody's not losing weight on these. And again, it's because we continue to talk about this as if it is a trivial weight loss medication. It is not. And those people are probably people that come from 2 different camps, right? 1, maybe 3, I just got used to my body and loving it, right? I just became body positive. I just decided that I'm beautiful at every size. And now you're telling me I'm not again. Who wouldn't feel this way? 2, they don't know shit about obesity or the fact that it's a disease or the fact that it's not their fault. Nobody tells these people that it's not their fault. It's not. Nobody does. And the other thing is that maybe they can't get access to it. Maybe they can't afford $100 or $200 or $300 or $500 or $1,000 a month. Most people can't. To be able to access these medications at all, you are in a place of privilege. Now, that's not okay. We need to change that. But this all comes from, in my opinion, this diet culture, and America's obsessed with weight loss that we all live in. And I think that that's what it is. Is it threatening the person that we are, the person we've decided so that we could survive and live our lives by thinking about it in these ways? So as you can tell, the answer to that question is a big conversation and meant for a big space, not a 3-minute TikTok. And so that's the thing is we're not saying you need to do this. We're saying if you hurt and you have obesity and you want to feel better, you are not alone and it is not your fault. And here's a way to be able to feel better because you are deserving. You are deserving and worthy of care, right? Because many times with obesity in this society, we do not feel deserving. We do not feel worthy, right? But we are. We are. Our disease deserves to be treated just like everybody else's. So that's what I would say. And, something Dr. Toomer said on the podcast is she said, body positivity, it has an expiration date. It's ultimately when you get to a certain age, these things that you just dealt with that were slight discomforts become very bad. And also your health declines. We know what happens when we have obesity untreated. We know. We've got the data. That's why people are willing to take these risks, uninformed risk, stupid risk, and go and buy things off the internet for $50 or whatever, That's why. So it's a big answer, but it's a big problem. It's a big topic.
No, I was thinking the same thing. When I first started this journey, I saw that there was some ugliness from both sides of the fence, where thin people were upset that obese people were using medication to treat their illness. And then obese people were upset that obese people were using their medication to treat their illness. And they were saying it was hurting the body positivity movement, like you just called it. And I thought the same thing. I thought it really was a survival tactic.
Yes.
And I think that it's still very important for people to have body positivity. I feel so much better seeing everyone else giving themselves the shot. I feel so much better about my body. And I feel like that body positivity movement, it can continue and expand. And it doesn't matter what size you are, as long as you love yourself and take care of yourself.
It's always been about health. I think what you're saying is so true. And I think it's like you have to be in one camp or the other. You have to be on a GLP-1 and not be body positive and be skinny, or you have to be the other way. Here's the truth. This is where it goes back to where I had the doctors on, right? If we just look at Zepbound, over 3 years, the average person lost about 55 pounds. 55 pounds does not get me out of being considered obese. I lost 110 pounds and I still have an obese BMI. So you have to be okay with the fact that you may lose weight. Actually, most people are going to lose weight and they're still going to be in a larger body. So body positivity matters just as much now as it ever did. But the idea of body positivity where you're just accepting your body and you aren't deserving of health and you aren't deserving of care, that's the problem. And people don't have to take these medicines. There are some times where their bodies don't respond. We do have non-responders. There are sometimes people who cannot handle the side effects of the medications. They're just way too severe. I'd argue that most of those people just need better care, most. But ultimately, that's what we see. It can make those people who don't respond, it can make those people who don't do well because of side effects and aren't managed well, feel othered even more so. So it's just something to really think about, because it gets back to this underlying issue in society. But if we think about it like a treatment for a disease, then I think that's the way to go. But it's hard to get people on board with that because people don't want to talk about diseases. It's a drag. It brings me down, it's such a rub. But I don't think there's a good way through it other than just to continue to have conversations about it and bring different perspectives. I plan to have someone on my show that doesn't want to take the medicine. Okay, so Jelly Roll does not take the medicine, but he's dieting and all the things. He won in the same category that I did for this award. And I want to have him on the show because I want to talk about, okay, let's have this discussion. So that's what I'm trying to do on the pod is I don't want it to always be this and this, because people do get tired of that. It's just humans and there's nothing bad about them. They just lose attention. I repeat that because I do think it's important, because I am beating a drum and I do want this to come across. You are not alone. It is not your fault. Here's access, right? You are deserving. You are worthy, right? I am beating that drum. But we also need to talk about the problems in healthcare. We also need to talk about the problems with healthcare and how our politics relate to that, with the way that everybody continues to feel very included And so I'm trying to kind of continue to up-level these conversations. That's kind of my thing about it, is that it's a huge conversation and you could have many episodes about it. You could have many TikToks about it. You could have a whole playlist just on how to respond to these things, because it is a symptom of the underlying dysfunction of our society. That's what it is, which is all just a symptom of obesity.
So well put. Last question. What one thing would you say is your most proud accomplishment in this movement? And I'm saying in this movement because I'm sure if I didn't, your child would be your number one.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I've taught people to raise their voices. And I didn't mean to, because I was just trying to figure out how to raise mine. But I think by providing a space with the podcast, a safe space, I think I taught other people. And not that I've done anything special, right? But I think by doing it, by bringing us together in this way, that people were like, I matter. And whether that voice is they become a creator, start a podcast, get a nonprofit, or just go and stitch and duet videos or comment on videos. I think it has helped people learn to advocate in whatever way they see fit, whether that is externally with a creator or advocating for their health with a doctor. And just, I think, knowing that they're deserving. I don't think I knew that that was going to happen at the time. I was just amazed and just needed everyone to know that it wasn't their fault. It was just like a desperation. And I think that a lot of people became creators because of the podcast and because of my content, or that's what they've told me. And I think the ripple effect from that is the specialist thing, because other people saw them, and those people that saw them became creators. The ripple effect is the best thing. My son, he's autistic, and I had to advocate for him for a long time and still do, but I'm also teaching him how to advocate for himself. And I remember when he was at school, and he's very aware of the podcast and what Mommy does. And his teacher sent me a message and said that he had gotten a petition together to get more apples in the cafeteria. And I was feeling very guilty because I've been so busy with the podcast and being a creator and trying to, how I saw it, is help others, that I felt like I wasn't giving him much attention. I figured it was like a project or something. When I picked him up from school, I asked him about it. I said, why did you do that? And he said, because we need more apples in the cafeteria. And there are not a lot of foods he likes because he's autistic. And he said, was it a project? Was it this? Was it that? And he said, no, Mama, it's like you said, you have to teach your kids to advocate. And I just thought, well, that was the ripple too. Like, to see that he was applying this to his life and having an empathetic heart and standing up and doing what you're doing and what everyone, I think, is trying to do. It's very special, and there is a magic to it. And I hope one day I'll get to make the documentary about this that I've been wanting to make, and people will see what we were doing and what we're able to accomplish. I've had people say before, they think that what we're doing is very much like akin to women's rights, and that we'll look back on that one day about how this ripple effect was history making. I think that that's true for all of us, So I guess that's it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was the best response I could not have imagined. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for your time. You're the person that I look up to. That's you. And you are the first person who really gave me the courage to make videos and try to make a difference. I was really scared getting into social media. The first video I made, I was terrified. And you want to get loud and change things. I'm so grateful for you, Kim. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your grace and giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast.